I'm Lauren Green for FoxNews.com. A new Pentagon report on China has Washington on alert. Defense officials believe Beijing has reclaimed more land in disputed islands throughout the South China Sea than previously known. Chinese are also completing construction of a runway on one of its 7 man-made outposts. Here with reaction is Katie McFarland, Fox News national security analyst. Welcome to you.
Very nice to be with you.
Okay, so does this new report come as a surprise at all?
No, and here's why. We've been watching what the Chinese military has done in the last several years, and they've really done 3 things. One, they started building up their military, particularly what's called anti-access. In other words, military equipment and facilities and weapons that would prevent other countries from coming into their region. The second thing is they've changed their military doctrine. They've talked much more about, this is what we're going to do, we're a great rising power, we have the right to protect our shipping and the sea lanes. And so the third thing, which we've noticed in the less than the last year, is they've taken these sort of literally piles of rocks in the South China Sea. They've added land to them, they've made naval bases out of them, they've added runways, and they will use those as military outposts. But in addition to that, they will say that the waterway, the water between mainland China and these now enhanced islands, isn't an ocean. It's not just the South China Sea, it's an internal Chinese lake. And anybody who wants to travel through there on their way to trade routes has to get our permission. That, I think, is where they're headed.
It sounds like a little bit of a bully. Not only that, it sounds like that China is becoming an increasing threat. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're a long-term threat. I don't think that the Chinese present an immediate threat to the United States security in the same way that Russia, for example, does, or Iran is a growing threat. But the Chinese is the long-range threat, because what they're trying to do is they say, we think we're the world's greatest economy. They look at the United States. All of their official documents talk about the United States as a declining power, a civilization on the wane. They're the civilization on the rise. And they also will say throughout history, every time you've had that where one nation is falling and another nation is rising, there's often conflict. So the Chinese are designing their whole military structure to look at America as enemy number one.
But then also, it brings up the question, how does this affect the national security in the U.S.? I mean, how should they be looking at this?
Well, one thing is that, for example, the president said he's going to pivot to Asia. In other words, focus American military attention more towards Asia. It's been focused on the Middle East. There's been very little to back that up. One thing to do would be to increase defense spending or to build more ships. We've not done that. So the threat that China is looking like it is presenting, not just now, but forward and in the future, which is largely a threat to freedom of the seas, is one that we should be responding to, in large part by making sure our Navy is strong enough to deal with it.
Wow, very interesting stuff. Thank you so much, Katie McFarland.
Thank you, Lauren.
And you want to check out FoxNews.com for more on this developing story. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.